Our lunch it is, and we're bringing you, I think, breaking a bit of new ground this morning. You might have been watching the Stock Exchange News Service. If you have, you will see that earlier today we've had the financial results being published by Mitall Steel. That was the 6 months results to the end of June. If you missed those, you missed a big story, but we'll be getting to that in just a moment with Reato, the Chief Executive. And in the second half, we'll be picking up on the year-end results from Goldfields Limited. They too were disclosed only this morning on the Stock Exchange News Service. But Rick, the big news as far as Mitall Steel shareholders are concerned is a special dividend. You're going to pay R10.21 immediately, plus another R4 and some change, plus you've got a R2.30 interim dividend that's come along. On a day when the stock market has taken an awful pounding, Mitall shares are up. I guess you caught a few people by surprise.
Yes, we're quite pleased with our results. Headline earnings up 63% for the half year. So yes, we're quite pleased with the performance.
But that special dividend is the one people are going to focus on. When was the decision taken to distribute this cash?
Well, we've been sitting with a lot of cash for some time. As we were at the end of June, we had 8.8 billion rand in cash. Our shareholders have been asking us for quite some time now, what are we doing with this cash? You know, we've been accused of having a bit of a lazy balance sheet. But you have to look at our history. The steel industry has been very cyclical, and we had a big expansion program already announced and planned. And we were cautious that we needed to fund that expansion program, and therefore we were retaining our cash. In the recent past, we've basically been able to generate enough cash to fund our expansion program, and therefore we had to review our cash position. That we've done now, and as you quite rightly said, you know, we've decided to give back 6.3 billion rand in the form of a dividend to our shareholders, and I think to the shareholders that have stuck with us and have, you know, seen us grow over the period of time since unbundling, I think should be pretty pleased with that.
Great story, but primarily you now seem to be a lot more confident about the future of steel prices. Steel prices after a dip last year have come back strong, back to new records. Last year your profits were down 8%, now you're up 63% at the interim stage. I guess that gave you some confidence too.
Yes. Now, the price cycles have been much more flatter. You know, we have seen cycles, but there haven't been those extreme cycles that we saw in the past. So that has given us confidence.
But what about South Africa? You do tend to be selling less of your product overseas. Is that always going to be the case if South Africa booms? Now 78% of your production going into South Africa. That's up 10 percentage points.
Our focus is definitely on South Africa. So whatever South Africa requires, we will first serve the South African market. And as you quite rightly said, it's gone up to 78%. Secondly is the African market. Our percentage of total sales into Africa has gone up to 90%. So yes.
So let's get that right now. 90% of what you're producing steel in South Africa is being sold either within the domestic economy or on the continent.
Yes.
That is a huge difference from only 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Absolutely. 2, 3 years ago, we came back and we said we are South Africans. We are in Africa. Our focus should be in Africa. It's the market that we know, and we are best situated and, I think, knowledge-wise, also best apt to tackle the African market.
You bought 2 steel mills in Mozambique last year. Are you looking at others on the continent?
There's not many others in the continent, maybe re-rolling plants and so on. So we're very cautious about this. This is a steel producing mill. We're currently busy refurbishing it, and hopefully it will come on stream very early in January next year.
Talking about refurbishing, you've got a lot of work to do at Vanderbijl Park, one of your, well, the gem of the Mitall Group. Production problems there, dropping your production for this period by 13%. Could you catch up at the rest of the year?
No, we won't catch up, but it's a huge project. It's a reline of a blast furnace. A reline of a blast furnace is a huge event in any integrated steel mill. You are basically faced with the decision that you either reline and you invest in the future where you have production facilities for the next 20 years, or you shut the facility down. It's one of those two choices. We've chosen the first, so we've had to take it down, we've relined it, actually rebuilt it. So now we're got an extended life out of that furnace for the next 20 years.
When does it come back on stream?
It's already back on stream. It came back on stream very successfully, in fact. So we're very pleased at the way that it has been performing since it's come back on stream. So those volumes are all now going to sort of find its way back into our production.
Second half, your volumes likely to be similar to what they were in the second half of last year?
Yes, slightly down because it's going to ramp up. It needs a ramp-up period, but the volumes will be substantially higher than the first half of this year.
And the big booster to profits at the moment is flat steel. Again, Vanderbilt Park. I suppose that the fact that your production was down a little bit in this past year, but in the 6 months, but it's going to ramp up in the second month, would also give you a boost on the bottom line.
Yes, it will. Prices are coming off slightly, however. Volumes are coming up. So we think it's going to balance out, and we expect that the results for the third quarter will be fairly similar to the quarter 2 results.
Your costs are going up at a rapid clip. You do have some advantages we'll talk about in a moment, but the whole story of skill shortages in South Africa, are they hurting?
Yes, they are hurting. We see it across the full spectrum. In all forms, and it has an impact. We saw it also having an impact on the reline of the blast furnace. We actually had it off for a longer period than what we had anticipated. It wasn't the only reason. There were a lot of contributing factors, but skills is becoming a problem. It's one of our biggest areas of concern in terms of our massive expansion program that we've actually also revised and announced today. You know, we've got 8 billion rands worth of projects going on for the next 5 years or so. So
how do you revise that in the annual report? You spoke about the 8 billion rand.
Yes, what was in the annual report still was the expansion plan that we had basically announced in 2005, which was an additional 2 million tons by the year 2009. But that was primarily focused on flat steel products. The market has, however, changed. Things that happened, for example, like we won the bid for the 2010 World Cup, that has created a growth in a different area. For example, construction and infrastructure, which requires a totally different type of product.
So it'll be coming from Newcastle and
that will be coming from Newcastle, that's correct. So we've shifted our strategy, and we're actually looking at expanding our volumes out of Newcastle. So there
my hometown, so I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, really? Oh, well, hopefully Newcastle will grow, yes. I think it will do the town enormous good as well, yes. It will be a growth area.
Some of the challenges that we need to touch on before we leave. You have now defined the debate with SARS, South African Revenue Services, in these results. It says 403 million rand that is at risk. Are you going to be providing against that?
We've provided for 80 million rand of that. The others we've basically shown as a contingent liability. The negotiations in terms of the ADR process is still ongoing with SARS. So we've provided for the 80 million, and we'll see where the process takes us further.
You haven't provided anything, though, for the Competition Tribunal. That was a shock to everybody when the ruling went against you. Are you now confident that you can have it overturned?
Alex, we said that we're going to appeal the announcement, and which we have done, because it was a shock to us as well, and we thought that we had a good argument, which we've always stated. So we'll see what the outcome is now, following the hearing last Friday, and then we'll take the process further from there.
Looking ahead to the group as a whole, you're a man who's come through the ranks. You've been at Mitall for many years. Do you have a succession plan that is going to have similar type of people to take over? Because we're seeing a lot of movements in executives lately.
Yes, no, we do have a succession plan. I want to assure the investors that we do. Obviously, there's no guarantee of people not moving and so on, but we've got a young crop of people, huge enthusiasm, well experienced in the steel industry. We get a lot of backing also from within the group in terms of expertise. There's a huge learning program known as the Knowledge Management Program within the group, where a lot of knowledge is shared and a lot of learning is obtained. So I think, yes, I don't think anybody should be too worried that the day I leave that the company will collapse.
You have no intention of leaving?
I have no intention of leaving.
But your parent did a huge acquisition as well, Mitall bought Arcelor internationally. Has that impacted you at all?
To a certain extent, yes. It's made the group a lot larger, and it's brought a lot of additional knowledge into the group. It's brought additional infrastructure and also benefits into the group. We are able to tap into that, so it goes from research and development. Arcelor were, for example, very strong in automotive, and we've already been able to tap into that and in terms of our quality improvement programs, and it's already showing fruit. So yes, we've been able to benefit from that.
Rick Reato, the Chief Executive of Mitall Steel, and that's a company that's had a very good run. It's actually been an incredible performer. If you bought the shares 5 years ago on the advice of JP Morgan, who everybody thought was crazy at the time, well, you'd be smiling all the way to the bank, because not only do you have Mitall, but you also have Exxaro and the old Kumba, which is still around today. It looks like the steel market has rejuvenated itself. Rick is very excited about the second half of the year in production. I think you have more of a special dividend coming here. Do your homework. Certainly one to hold in your portfolio.